Hey, Lee Merriweather here. You know, the lawyer decided to become a sawyer. I'm going to try something different in this video today. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, but I'm going to narrate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. If you're a business, and like what we do is we help people and businesses turn fallen trees into stories, and if that's your focus, then it's extremely difficult to get your work done timely and record videos. Recording videos just adds so much extra time to the process. But if I can start recording things while I'm doing it and then splice in some narration after the fact, then it only takes up a small amount of time on the back end, and I can edit all those videos early in the mornings. I typically get up between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. So today we're actually going to be loading up one of our kilns with about 2,300 board feet of hickory. And these boards are going to be turned into hardwood flooring for a customer's home. And the memory serves me correctly, the hickory logs came from the property they were milled on, and they're going to go right back into the house that's being built on that same piece of property. So we are loading it into one of our kilns that we affectionately call our Frankenstein kiln. The hardware for it is a Wismiser KD250, but Nyle is actually the manufacturer, and their equivalent label is the Nyle L200M. We purchased both of these L200Ms at the same time and built our chambers for both of them. So the reason I affectionately call this the Frankenstein kiln is because I used lots of different parts to build it. I built it into an existing structure on the property. It's the shop we use to do finishing work with the wood, and there was an overhang on the back, and so we built it into there. And we used actually old refrigeration panels. They actually have an R value of 200. I'm sorry, 200. They actually have an R value of 60. So this kiln is actually very efficient. It does a great job of kiln drying the wood without using too much energy at all. On average, even in the winter, it costs us between $175 and $200 a month to run this nonstop. So pretty good. And I can load up anywhere from 2 to 3,500 board feet in here. If I do it really, if I stack it if I milled the wood and it's all a quarter, I can actually get about 3,800 board feet in this chamber. So now kiln drying wood is a service for customers because I don't control the size of the wood that this gets delivered to me, or the length of the wood that the customer needs. I don't think I've ever hit 3,800 board feet in that kiln. Now you might notice that the wood where it's sitting, it was sitting on an air drying station waiting to go in the kiln, and I only had 2 pieces of dunnage holding the wood in place. And normally I have a piece of dunnage lined up with each sticker. And the only reason I didn't on this is because we didn't mill this wood. The customer brought it to us, milled by someone else, and I knew it was going in the kiln. It had been air drying for a while, and I knew we were going to be putting in the kiln within a week or two of him delivering it. So I only used a couple pieces of dunnage to separate each bundle of lumber. But you'll see in a minute that when it goes in the kiln, because we're going to be applying a lot of heat to it, we put dunnage at each. We line up the dunnage with each sticker. Now you'll notice here that we've got concrete blocks on this stack of lumber here. This is going to be the top layer on one side of the kiln. Those concrete blocks add up to just over 1,000 pounds or a half ton, and that does an excellent job keeping the top layer flat while it dries in the kiln. Now we have to put it on before we put it in the kiln because of a mistake I made. What's a sort of design flaw in the kiln chamber. And this was a learning lesson for me when we were building it. We built it into an overhang or lean-to on the back of the building that already was there. That was to cut down on the time building the chamber. But the fact that it was leaning down, that limits the height I can move something into the kiln, because the top of the forks actually it's a safety feature, so they go up I guess another 1.5 or 2 feet, so that whatever you're moving with those forks doesn't fall back onto you if you lift it up and tilt it at an odd angle. But that also prevents us from getting a tall stack into the kiln, because the top of the forks will strike the top part of the door. So we've had to come up with things to work around it, like putting the concrete blocks on ahead of time before we put it in the kiln. Now, sometimes we'll squeeze in a little extra wood. You'll see also this in a bit, and then we have to manually add the concrete blocks into the kiln after the fact. Now, when we built the Frankenstein kiln, it was around 2021, and despite, calling around, I don't know how many companies, I could not get concrete delivered so that I could build a concrete base for that kiln. Nobody had it, and in fact, I found one guy he did all kinds of work, and when I told him the trouble I was having, he said, "Oh, I know people that can get they can get you concrete. I'll be able to do it." And he gave me a very reasonable price, so I said, "Let's do it." And then he called me 3 weeks later, and he said, "Boy, you're right, I can't get concrete anywhere." So what we wound up doing was putting in gravel, making it level. Then I bought steel I-beams and some angle iron and welded it all together, and so that created a very level, stable base inside of the kiln that I could put the wood on. So that whole ordeal was very frustrating. It created really a 5-month delay in trying to build the kiln, because I kept thinking I could get concrete from somebody, and I never poured my own concrete pad. Since then I found some new machinery that'll mix it up for you, and had I known about that machinery before, or maybe it may not have existed back then, but it's called the mud mixer. Had I known about that back then, I probably would have poured my own concrete pad. But it all worked out. We put in a vapor barrier when we took all our scrap insulation and put it all over on the ground. And like I said, it works fantastic. It takes very little energy to run it. Even I ran it for almost an entire month at 160 degrees to sterilize. I forgot, like 10,000 board feet of barnwood, maybe more than that. I can't remember, but anyways, it only cost a couple $100 to run that in the middle of winter, so very efficient. Well, I tell you, I love this wheel loader. It can lift a lot of weight. I try not to overload it. When I say overload it, so there's 2 weight limits on it. One is for going straight, going forward and back, and the other is for when it turns, because there's about a 2,000 pound difference when the wheel loader is turned. It obviously changes the balance of the machine, and so if you hit the max going straight forward, you can't turn left and right very much because otherwise it'll start to tip. By the way, here's an example of how I'm putting in 2 stacks of lumber. One's a little bit smaller than the other. So we're putting these 2 stacks in at the same time, and then we're going to manually add concrete blocks later. One of the things I like about this kiln is that it's 22 feet long, which allows me to put in 2 stacks of 10.5 foot long lumber side by side, which is really nice. That extra 2 feet makes a huge difference because usually when you get people say I've got all my lumber's 10 foot, it's really right around 10.5. So that allows us to squeeze in the wood like we have here. And the base, I wound up making it 5 feet wide. So if I do 5 foot stacks inside the kiln, so if it's the lumber stack, these are all 4 feet. But if I can put them at 5 feet, then it works. That's how I can max out the kiln, get to about 3,800 board feet. And the other thing is that 5 foot width on the base allows me to kiln dry some really large live edge slabs, and this thing actually does a great job kiln drying slabs. You know, I might have ordered, if I were to order this again, I might have gotten it comes with 2 fans. I ordered a 3rd fan. I wish I'd ordered 2 fans. But here's the final look, and you'll see that we have baffled it, and it's ready to go.